The sirens wailed like banshees in the humid Georgia night, red and blue lights slicing through the magnolia shadows on my driveway. I stood there, garage door yawning open behind me, the chrome of my '67 Mustang glinting under the floodlights, while she, Evelyn Hargrove, the iron-fisted HOA president, shrieked into her phone, "He's stealing it! That's my car, the one I just bought! Arrest him now!" The cop's hand hovered over his holster, his boots crunching on the gravel as he eyed me like I was some backwoods thief, the scent of rain-soaked asphalt mixing with the metallic tang of fear in my throat. But as her voice cracked with that fake hysteria, I knew this was the boiling point of our HOA war, and the moment her illegal empire started crumbling. Wait, how did a simple garage opening turn into a full-blown police standoff? It all traced back to that sweltering summer morning 6 months earlier when I first rolled into Willow Creek Estates with nothing but a U-Haul full of ghosts and a dream of quiet retirement. The air was thick with the buzz of cicadas and the sweet rot of overripe peaches from the orchard down the road, a far cry from the desert dust I'd left behind after 20 years as an Army investigator. I'd bought the place sight unseen, 2-story. Colonial wraparound porch, and a garage big enough for my prized Mustang, the one I'd restored piece by piece during deployments. Little did I know, this neighborhood was ruled by an HOA tyrant who'd turned my sanctuary into a battlefield, Evelyn Hargrove. Mid-50s, peroxide blonde, bob sharp as a switchblade, always in those pastel pantsuits that screamed, "I'm in charge." She drove a gleaming silver Lexus, license plate reading Queen Ev, and had a habit of peering over fences with binoculars she claimed were for bird watching. Hypocrite to the core. She fined folks for unmowed lawns while her own yard sprouted, weeds like rebellion flags. Her power lever? She was married to the county commissioner, giving her sway over permits and whispers in high places. The first red flag waved when I pulled up, and she materialized on my porch like a bad omen, clipboard in hand, her floral perfume clashing with the diesel fumes from my truck. "Welcome to Willow Creek," she cooed, but her eyes were cold steel. "I'm Evelyn, HOA president. We have standards here. No visible vehicles in driveways after dusk, bylaws section 4.2. I wiped sweat from my brow, the Georgia sun baking my skin like a kiln, and forced a smile. "Appreciate the heads up, ma'am. Name's Jack Harlan. Just settling in." She handed me a welcome packet thick as a Bible, her nails clicking like talons on the paper. But as she sauntered away, hips swaying with that self-important strut, I caught her glancing at my garage, lips pursing. "Where are you watching from? Comment your city. I want to see how far HOA power reaches." Unpacking that afternoon, I felt the weight of my past lift a bit. Boxes of medals, faded photos from Iraq, sandstorms that stung like needles, the acrid smoke of burning oil fields still haunting my dreams. I'd traded combat boots for civvies, using my investigative skills for freelance work now, digging into records that others overlooked. The house smelled of fresh paint and lemon cleaner, a clean slate. But by evening, as thunder rumbled in the distance and rain pattered on the tin roof, a letter slipped under my door. Notice of violation. Unauthorized vehicle storage. Fine, $200. Remedy immediately. My Mustang? It was tucked away, not bothering a soul. Anger bubbled up, hot as the coffee I brewed, its bitter steam filling the kitchen. I ignored it at first, focusing on settling in. Mornings brought the chirp of cardinals and the earthy scent of dew on grass as I jogged the winding streets, nodding to neighbors who whispered warnings. "Watch out for Evelyn," old Mr. Thompson said over his fence, his voice gravelly from years of pipe tobacco. "She once fined me for a bird feeder, claimed it attracted vermin. If you've ever been bullied by an HOA, you're going to love this ending. Stick with me." But the fines kept coming, like clockwork. One for my porch light being too bright, another for unsightly garden tools. Each envelope carried her signature flourish, a petty jab. Then came the day it escalated. I'd been in the garage, tools clanging against metal as I tuned the Mustang's engine, the oil's sharp tang mixing with the rubbery smell of new tires. Sweat trickled down my back, the fan whirring lazily overhead. Evelyn's SUV purred up my drive, brakes squeaking. She banged on the garage door. "Open up! I know you're hiding something illegal in there." Her voice pierced like a drill. I hit the button, the door groaning upward, revealing the car in all its glory. Cherry red, polished to a mirror shine. Her face twisted. That's the car I just bought! You stole it!" What? I'd owned it for years, but she was already dialing 911, her hysteria ramping up. "Hold on, stole it?" This wasn't random. Flash back a week. I'd overheard her at the community pool, bragging about snagging a classic Mustang at auction, her laughter like nails on chalkboard, chlorine stinging my eyes. But hers was blue, not red. Misidentification? Or something darker? As the dispatcher crackled on her phone, I realized this was her play to expose some scandal, force a takedown. My heart pounded, the garage's cool concrete grounding me. This isn't just my fight, it's yours too. Tell me if your HOA has ever crossed the line. Calmly, I stepped forward, the wrench still in my hand feeling heavy as a weapon. "Ma'am, this is my car. Title's in the house." But she screamed louder, drawing neighbors like moths to a flame. Mrs. Patel from next door peeked out, curry spices wafting from her kitchen window, her sari fluttering in the breeze. The cop arrived minutes later, siren whooping, gravel crunching, under tires. He was young, badge gleaming, sweat beading on his forehead in the heat. "Sir, step away from the vehicle." Evelyn pointed triumphantly. "See? He's a thief. This HOA won't tolerate such justice-dodging scum." That's when I dropped. My first knowledge bomb right there in the tension. "Officer, under Georgia Code, Section 44560, adverse possession doesn't apply here. I've owned this car free and clear for over a decade. No HOA bylaw can override state property rights." He blinked, radio static buzzing, while Evelyn's face flushed crimson. It was a small legal insight, but it planted doubt. What would you have done in my place? Drop it in the comments. The cop checked my papers, the rustle of documents cutting through the awkward silence, the sun dipping low and casting long shadows. He nodded reluctantly. "Seems legit, ma'am. False alarm." Evelyn sputtered, her perfume, now cloying in the confined space. "This isn't over. I'll have the board review this. Your garage is a violation waiting to happen." She stormed off, heels clicking like gunfire. But as night fell, stars pricking the velvet sky and crickets chirping a symphony, I knew I'd poked the bear. My investigative instincts kicked in. Time to dig. Next morning, coffee steaming in my mug, its robust aroma battling the faint mildew from last night's rain, I pored over the HOA covenants at my kitchen table. The wood creaked under my elbows. Sunlight streaming through lace curtains. Buried in the fine print. Rules on vehicle storage that seemed arbitrarily enforced. Evelyn's hypocrisy shone. Her own garage housed a boat she never used, visible from the street. I snapped photos, the camera shutter clicking softly. Ever dealt with an HOA bully? Let's see how many of us there are. The neighborhood buzzed with whispers. At the mailbox, wind rustling leaves overhead, Mr. Thompson leaned in. "She's been pulling this for years. Fined the Wilsons out of their home over a fence color." His breath smelled of mints, his hands gnarled from gardening. I nodded, filing it away. But then, another letter. "Cease and desist. Unauthorized modifications." Modifications? The Mustang was stock. This was harassment, pure and simple. Tension mounted that afternoon. I was in the backyard, hose spraying cool water on parched grass, the mist rainbowing in the sun, when Evelyn's voice carried over the fence. "I saw you tinkering. That's against noise ordinances." Her binoculars. glinted. I shut off the water, droplets plinking into puddles. "Evelyn, this is getting ridiculous. Let's talk like adults." She huffed, vanishing with a rustle of bushes. But her words lingered, a chill despite the heat. By evening, as barbecue smoke from a neighbor's grill wafted over, savory and inviting, I sat on my porch swing, chains creaking rhythmically. My phone buzzed, a text from an anonymous number. "Watch your back. She's got friends in low places." Dread coiled in my gut. Who was helping her? And why target my car? The next incident hit like a storm. I'd left for groceries, the store's fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, carts rattling on tile floors, the chill of AC raising goosebumps. Returning, I found my garage door ajar, forced. Inside, the Mustang untouched, but a note, "Get rid of it or else." Fingerprints? No, but the violation burned. I called the non-emergency line, voice steady despite the rage. "Possible break-in." The dispatcher yawned, boredom evident. That's when I uncovered the first crack in her armor. Digging through public records online, screen glowing in the dim. Room, keyboard clacking, I found Evelyn had a pending lawsuit from a former neighbor, something about forged signatures on HOA amendments. At about the halfway mark of this brewing war, I muttered to myself, under the Georgia Nonprofit Corporation Code, Section 14.3.140, HOAs can't alter bylaws without unanimous consent if it affects property rights. This could be her illegal loophole. Exposed. It was a knowledge bomb that fueled my defiance, the coffee gone cold beside me. But Evelyn wasn't done. She rallied the board. A clique of yes-men who met in her McMansion. Laughter echoing from open windows, the clink of wine glasses. I crashed their meeting uninvited, the room smelling of potpourri and stale cookies, chairs scraping as heads turned. "Jack Harlan," Evelyn sneered, her lipstick a slash of red. "This is private." I laid out my evidence, voice firm. "Your fines are baseless. And that break-in? Suspicious timing." The room tensed, whispers like rustling paper. One board member, a balding accountant named Ted, fidgeted, sweat glistening on his brow. "Maybe we should review," Evelyn cut him off. "Nonsense. Vote now, evict if necessary." Hands raised reluctantly. As I left, thunder rumbling outside, rain starting to pelt the windows, I felt the shift. If you think HOAs should be held accountable, type yes so we can get this trending. Nights blurred into unease. I'd lie awake, ceiling fan whirring, sheets, damp with humidity, replaying deployments where vigilance meant survival. Metaphors from the field. This was like scouting enemy terrain, mapping weak points. Evelyn's vulnerability? Her marriage was crumbling, rumors of affairs, her husband's influence waning after a scandal. I noted it, filing away like intel. Then, the sabotage, waking to flat tires on the Mustang, the hiss of air escaping, rubber scent sharp. No proof, but her SUV had cruised by earlier, exhaust trailing. Anger surged, fists clenching on the cool metal. I repaired it, tools clanging in the dawn light, birdsong mocking the quiet rage. Community ripples spread. At the local diner, grease sizzling on the griddle, coffee percolating, Mrs. Patel confided over pancakes sticky with syrup. "She's threatened us too, over our Diwali lights." Solidarity formed, tentative alliances. But Evelyn countered with a smear, flyers in mailboxes, claiming I was a disruptive veteran with PTSD issues. Low blow. Pain stabbed, old wounds reopening, the flashbacks of explosions, sand in my mouth. Pushing through, I attended my first HOA meeting officially. The community center hummed with fluorescent lights, folding chairs squeaking, air conditioner rattling. Evelyn presided like a queen, gavel banging. "Order! Mr. Harlan's violations top the agenda." I stood, heart thumping. "Let's discuss the real scandal, your selective enforcement." Murmurs rose, tension thick as fog. Midway through arguments, her face paling under the lights, I dropped another insight. Per the Fair Housing Act, HOAs can't discriminate based on veteran status. That's illegal, and it could lead to a federal takedown. Gasps echoed, her gavel hovering. Knowledge bomb landed, but she recovered, eyes narrowing. Meeting adjourned. Outside, lightning flashed, thunder booming, rain lashing my truck as I drove home. The wipers thumped rhythmically, headlights cutting through sheets of water. Relief mixed with dread, a false victory. The cliffhanger struck that night. My phone rang, unknown caller. Mr. Harlan, this is Commissioner Hargrove. We need to talk about your property lines. Seems there's a discrepancy. Evelyn's husband. The power shift loomed, stakes skyrocketing. What they did next almost made me lose everything. But it also gave me the win of my life. The phone's ring cut through the storm's roar like a knife, vibrating on my nightstand as lightning illuminated the room in stark flashes. Commissioner. Hargrove's voice was smooth as oil, but laced with that small-town menace I'd heard in interrogation rooms overseas, subtle threats wrapped in civility. Mr. Harlan, we've got records showing your garage encroaches on easement lines. Could be a problem for your title. My grip tightened on the receiver, the plastic cool and slick with sweat, rain hammering the windows like artillery fire. Evelyn's husband pulling strings to amplify her HOA takedown. I hung up, heart racing, the thunder echoing my outrage. This battle was intensifying, and I was about to counterattack. Morning broke with a hazy dawn, the air heavy with ozone from the night's deluge, puddles mirroring the overcast sky as I sipped black coffee on the porch, its bitterness grounding me. I'd faced worse. Desert ambushes where one wrong step meant catastrophe. But this felt personal, a siege on my home. Digging into county records online, fingers flying over the keyboard with clicks like suppressed gunfire, I uncovered the first escalation. A petition Evelyn had filed claiming my property violated zoning for excessive vehicle storage. Smear. Campaigns followed. Whispers at the grocery store, where fluorescent lights buzzed overhead and carts rattled like distant tanks, neighbors averting eyes as if I carried a plague. Monday brought a fresh fine in the mail, envelope crisp and official, the stamp's ink smudged from handling. $500 for non-compliant structure. I crumpled it, the paper rustling sharply, anger flaring hot in my chest. Tuesday, threats via email. Cease all garage activities or face liens. The screen's glow strained my eyes in the dim kitchen, the hum of the fridge a constant drone. Wednesday, sabotage. Waking to sugar in my Mustang's gas tank, the sweet, sticky residue clinging to my fingers as I inspected the damage, engine coughing futilely. Who else but Evelyn's minions? The neighborhood reeked of conspiracy, the scent of fresh-cut grass from Mr. Thompson's mower mixing with my growing dread. But I wasn't folding. Drawing on my Army days, I treated this like recon. Map the terrain, identify allies. First recruit, Mrs. Patel, whose curry spices wafted invitingly as I knocked on her door, the wood warm under my knuckles. "Jack, come in," she said, her accent lilting like a melody, eyes wary but kind. Over chai steaming with cardamom and ginger, its warmth seeping into my palms, she spilled. Evelyn had harassed her family over holiday decorations, fining them into submission. "She's exposed our community to her illegal whims," Mrs. Patel whispered, the clock ticking softly. We bonded, her vulnerability mirroring mine, the fear of losing roots in this adopted land. Thursday escalated the harassment. Evelyn's SUV idled outside my house at dawn, exhaust fumes curling like smoke signals, her silhouette visible through tinted windows. I stepped out, gravel crunching under boots, the chill morning air nipping at my skin. "What now?" I called. She rolled down the window, a smirk playing on her lips. "Just ensuring compliance. Your scandal's the talk of Willow Creek." Her voice dripped sarcasm, but I caught the flicker, a hidden vulnerability, perhaps the strain in her eyes from her crumbling marriage. Rumors said the commissioner was stepping down amid ethics probes. Foreshadowing her downfall, I filed it away. By Friday, the stakes broadened. At the community park, children's laughter echoing off swing sets creaking in the breeze, leaves rustling overhead with the scent of pine sap, I overheard parents griping. Evelyn's HOA had jacked up fees, threatening foreclosures on widows like Mrs. Ellis down the street, her frail frame bent over a walker. "They're taking our homes," one dad muttered, burger grease shining on his fingers from the nearby grill. This wasn't just my war. It was a neighborhood under siege, justice denied by her corrupt reign, montage of misery. Saturday, anonymous calls hissing through the line, sell out or suffer, static crackling like gunfire. Sunday, flyers plastered on lampposts, wind whipping. Them against metal poles, accusing me of HOA evasion tactics. My blood boiled, fists clenching as I tore one down, paper tearing with a satisfying rip. But relief came in spikes. A neighbor's nod of support, the taste of victory and small wins. What would you have done in my place? Drop it in the comments. Counterattack time. I dove deeper. Tactical digging in the county clerk's office, fluorescent lights flickering overhead, the musty smell of old files tickling my nose as pages flipped with whispers. Allies emerged. Ted, the fidgety board member, met me at a diner. Booths sticky with syrup residue, coffee percolating in the background. "Evelyn's forging votes," he confessed, voice trembling, sweat beading on his forehead. His personality shone, nervous accountant, glasses slipping down his nose, but with a core of decency. "Help me expose this scandal," I urged. He nodded. Alliance forged over clinking mugs, game-changing find, buried in HOA minutes, a technical loophole. Evelyn had bypassed environmental reviews for her own backyard pool, while fining others for minor tweaks. At about the 20% mark of this intensifying storm, amid the tension of poring over documents late at night, desk lamp buzzing, shadows dancing on walls, I realized, under Georgia's Open Meetings Act, Section 5014-1, HOA boards must allow public attendance and can't hide illegal actions like this. This could be the justice key to her takedown. Knowledge bomb dropped, fueling my strategy like ammo in a clip. Escalation hit fever pitch. Evelyn launched a smear. Online, posting on the neighborhood Facebook group, screen notifications pinging like alerts, her words venomous. "Beware the veteran thief in our midst." Comments poured in, some defending, others piling on. My vulnerability surfaced. Nights of insomnia, flashbacks to sand-swept patrols where trust was currency, the acrid taste of fear in my mouth. But defiance rose. I rallied more allies. Mr. Thompson joined, his pipe tobacco scent comforting as we plotted in his shed, tools clanging faintly. Community harm widened. Evelyn targeted the Patels next, issuing a violation for their vegetable garden, claiming it attracted pests. I saw Mrs. Patel in tears on her porch, the evening sun casting golden hues, birds chirping obliviously. "This is our livelihood," she sobbed, soil under her nails from tending plants. Broader stakes. If she fell, the whole HOA's illegal grip loosened. Ever dealt with an HOA bully? Let's see how many of us there are. Midweek montage ramped up. Monday again. Legal threats via certified mail, the envelope's seal popping with a snap, demanding I demolish the garage. Tuesday. Harassment calls from her cronies, voices muffled but menacing. Wednesday. More sabotage. Paint splashed on my driveway, the chemical stench burning my nostrils as I scrubbed it off, knees aching on concrete. Anger spiked, but I pivoted, using military metaphors. This was flanking the enemy, not direct assault. Counterpunch. I filed a complaint with the state attorney general, keyboard clacking in the quiet library, air-conditioned, chill-raising goosebumps, the scent of aged books calming, allies multiplied. A young lawyer, Sarah, with fiery red hair and a no-nonsense drawl, joined pro bono. "We've got this," she said over pizza, cheese stretching gooey, grease-spotting napkins. Her personality, sharp wit, vulnerable to her own past HOA battles. Together, we unearthed emails proving Evelyn's corruption, bribes for permits exposed in digital trails, mid-conflict around the halfway point as we reviewed evidence in Sarah's office, fluorescent hum overhead, coffee cooling in styrofoam cups. I dropped the second knowledge bomb. "Look here. Per the Georgia Property Owners Association Act, Section 44-3220, HOAs can't impose fines without due process hearings. Her unilateral takedowns are illegal, and this scandal could dissolve the board." Tension eased momentarily, her eyes widening in triumph, but the midpoint twist slammed in, Evelyn's surprise leverage. She produced a forged survey showing my property lines shifted, handed over by her husband. Delivered at an emergency HOA meeting, the room stuffy with body heat, chairs scraping as accusations flew. "Eviction proceedings. Start now," she crowed, her voice echoing off paneled walls. My stomach dropped, the paper's weight in my hands like a grenade. Pivot. I questioned the document's authenticity, spotting inconsistencies under the harsh lights. Emotional gut punch. Doubt crept in, vulnerability peaking as I drove home, wipers slapping rain, headlights blurring through sheets of water. False. Victory earlier crumbled. This could cost everything, but allies held firm. Sarah called, voice steady over the line. "We'll authenticate it. Fight back." Harassment peaked. Anonymous notes under my door, paper whispering as I unfolded them. "Leave or lose." The neighborhood divided, whispers at the mailbox cluster, wind carrying scents of blooming jasmine. Mrs. Ellis faced eviction too, her frail voice trembling on the phone. Stakes soared. Community healing depended on my win. Deeper digging revealed Evelyn's vulnerability. Tax liens on her home hidden behind her facade. In Act Two's mounting pressure, around the 80% escalation, as I confronted Ted again in his backyard, mower humming nearby, grass clippings tickling my ankles, I uncovered. Federal RICO statutes could apply if her HOA actions involve racketeering patterns, like these repeated illegal fines. This justice bomb exposes her empire. Knowledge dropped, tension coiling tighter, cliffhanger loomed. Sarah's office, late to say. Night, desk lamp casting shadows, the scratch of her pen on paper as she prepared our countersuit. "Sign here," she said, hovering over the document that could unravel everything. Media got wind, local reporters flashing cameras outside, bulbs popping like gunfire. "Is this the end of the HOA scandal?" one shouted. My hand paused, ink ready to flow. The next 60 seconds will show you exactly how a single document can destroy an entire HOA. If you thought they couldn't stoop lower, you're wrong, and this is where I got my payback. The camera flashes exploded like a firefight outside Sarah's office, their harsh light cutting through the rain-streaked windows, casting jagged shadows across the desk where her pen hovered over our countersuit. The air smelled of damp paper and stale coffee, the cup cold in my hand as reporters shouted, "Harlan, is this the end of Evelyn's HOA scandal?" My pulse thumped, the weight of the moment heavy as a rucksack on a desert march. Signing that document could torch Evelyn's illegal empire or backfire, stripping me of my home. But as thunder rumbled, shaking the panes, I inked my name, the scratch of the pen loud in the tense silence. This was it, the final battle for justice, and I was ready to expose her takedown. Days earlier, the war had reached its fever pitch. After Evelyn's forged survey dropped, claiming my garage violated property lines, I'd spent sleepless nights in my kitchen, the hum of the fridge a constant drone, poring over maps and deeds, their musty parchment scent mingling with the pine cleaner I'd used to scrub paint off my driveway. My army instincts kicked in. Recon, analyze, strike. Sarah and I had rallied, her red hair glowing under library lamps as we cross-referenced county records, fingers dusty from flipping through brittle files. We found it. The survey was a fraud, its timestamp predating modern GPS tech, ink-smudged, like a rushed job. Relief spiked, sharp as the tang of my morning coffee, but dread lingered. She'd play dirtier now. The neighborhood was a powder keg. At the community center, where folding chairs squeaked and the air conditioner rattled, Mrs. Patel whispered over the clink of her teacup, "Evelyn's threatening to fine us out of our home now, our garden's non-compliant." Her hands trembled, soil still under her nails, the scent of cumin from her kitchen clinging to her sari. Mr. Thompson, puffing his pipe, tobacco smoke curling like a signal, growled, "She's bleeding us dry." The stakes weren't just mine anymore. This was about saving a community from her corrupt grip. If you believe no one is above the law, hit subscribe so we can take down every corrupt HOA together. Evelyn escalated, her silver Lexus prowling the streets, exhaust fumes sharp in the humid air as she handed out violation notices like candy. Monday. Mrs. Ellis got one for her mailbox's unauthorized color, her frail voice cracking over the phone. "I can't afford this." Tuesday. Ted, our nervous accountant ally, found his car keyed, paint scratches gleaming under streetlights. Wednesday. My mailbox overflowed with hate mail, paper crinkling as I sifted through threats scrawled in jagged script. Anger burned, hot as the Georgia sun baking my skin during a jog, sweat stinging my eyes, cicadas buzzing like war drums. But we fought back. Sarah filed an injunction, her heels clicking on courthouse marble, the air thick with polish and old wood. "We've got her on fraud," she said, voice steady, her perfume sharp with citrus. I dug deeper, hacking through public records online. Keyboard clacking in my dim living room, the glow of the screen straining my eyes. Evelyn's tax liens surfaced. Her McMansion was underwater, her husband's influence gutted by his own scandals. Her vulnerability was clear. She was desperate, clinging to HOA power to mask her crumbling life. Foreshadowed in Act 1, her hypocrisy, fining. Others, while her own yard sprouted weeds, now fueled our strategy. Community support swelled. At the diner, grease sizzling on the griddle, coffee percolating with a rich aroma, neighbors rallied. "We're with you, Jack," said a dad named Mike, burger grease shining on his fingers, his kids' laughter drifting from the jukebox corner. Mrs. Patel organized a petition, her pen scratching as signatures piled up, the paper crisp under. My touch. Even Ted, glasses slipping, found courage, leaking more HOA emails, proof Evelyn had bribed a contractor to fast-track her pool permit. "This scandal's bigger than we thought," he muttered, sweat beading, his voice shaking but resolute. Around the 20% mark of this final push, as we prepped for the showdown in Sarah's office, rain pattering outside, the hum of her laptop, a soft anchor, I dropped a knowledge bomb. Under Georgia's Code Section 443232, HOAs can't enforce fines based on fraudulent documents, like that survey. This exposes her illegal tactics and sets up our justice play. The room buzzed with hope. Sarah's nod sharp, her fingers drumming on the desk. The climax loomed. The HOA's annual meeting, set in the community center under flickering fluorescent lights, the air thick with tension and the faint mildew of damp carpet. Evelyn presided, her pastel pantsuit pristine, gavel banging like a judge's hammer. "Order! We're addressing Harlan's violations and eviction," she declared, her voice slicing through murmurs. The crowd shifted, chairs creaking, neighbors, faces taut, some loyal to her, others eyeing me with cautious support. I stood, heart pounding like a war drum, the Mustang's title in my pocket, its paper edges worn from handling. Evelyn, your survey's a fake, I said, voice steady. Holding up the county's original plat, its ink crisp despite years. Gasps rippled, the room smelling of coffee and nervous sweat. Sarah stepped forward, heels clicking, her briefcase snapping open with a sharp pop. We have evidence of fraud, vote tampering, and illegal fines, she said, tossing emails onto the table, their printed pages fluttering like battle flags. Ted, trembling but resolute, stood. I saw her forge board votes. She's exposed. The crowd erupted, whispers turning to shouts, the gavel useless in Evelyn's shaking hand. Her arrogance unraveled. "This is outrageous!" she screeched. But her eyes darted, betraying panic, her perfume cloying in the heated room. I dropped the second knowledge bomb around the 50% mark as the room teetered on chaos. Per the Georgia Nonprofit Corporation Code, Section 14.3.1602, members can demand an audit of HOA finances. Her bribes and liens, they'll show up there, ending her reign. The crowd roared, neighbors standing, fists raised, the air electric with defiance. Evelyn tried a last-ditch play, her husband storming in, his tie askew, breath heavy with whiskey. "I'll have this property condemned," he bellowed, but Sarah was ready, her voice cutting like a blade. "Commissioner, your own ethics probe disqualifies your influence. Step back." His face crumpled, the room's heat pressing in, the crowd's jeers like a tidal wave. Her power lever snapped. The commissioner's sway was dead, her empire cracking. The final blow came at the 80% mark in the meeting's dying moments as Evelyn clutched her gavel, face pale under the lights. I dropped the decisive knowledge bomb. Under Georgia Code. Section 44.3234, an HOA can be dissolved if a majority votes for it, especially after proven corruption. Your illegal fines, forged surveys, and bribes? They're grounds for termination. The room exploded. Neighbors chanting, "Vote! Vote!" Hands shot up, a sea of defiance, the air thick with the scent of victory and old wood polish. Evelyn's. Gavel fell, clattering uselessly, her empire toppled. Resolution washed over us. The board voted to dissolve the HOA, papers rustling as signatures sealed its fate. My garage, my Mustang, safe. Mrs. Patel hugged me, tears wet on her cheeks, the scent of her jasmine perfume grounding me. Mrs. Ellis, frail but smiling, gripped my hand, her skin cool and papery. "Thank you, Jack," she whispered, her walker creaking as she shuffled away. The community healed, neighbors laughing under the stars that night, barbecue smoke drifting, kids chasing fireflies in the grass. Full circle callback, I stood in my garage, the Mustang gleaming under the floodlight, its chrome cool under my fingers, the oil's sharp tang a reminder of Act One's defiance. Back then, Evelyn's 911 call had sparked this war, her scream about a stolen car echoing in my mind. Now, that memory closed with triumph. No more fines, no more threats. The neighborhood was free, the cicadas' buzz a peaceful hum, not a war cry. Legacy lingered. I'd fought not just for me, but for fairness, resilience. My Army days taught me to protect what mattered, and here I'd guarded a community's soul. As I locked the garage, the click of the padlock sharp in. The quiet night, I felt empowered, whole. Your story could be next. Comment your HOA horror below, and I might cover it. Driving through Willow Creek the next day, windows down, the breeze carrying the sweet rot of peaches and fresh-cut grass, I saw neighbors rebuilding, Mrs. Patel's. Garden thriving, Mr. Thompson's bird feeder back up, defiance in every bloom and chirp. Evelyn's Lexus was gone, her McMansion dark, rumors swirling she'd left town, her marriage in ashes. Justice wasn't just mine, it was ours. Final call to action. Like, share, and tag a friend who needs to hear this. The more people know, the harder it is for HOAs to get away with this. Want to see another insane HOA takedown? Click here. You won't believe what happened. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this victory reaches. The stars burned bright that night, the air cool with autumn's promise, the Mustang purring as I took it for a spin, gravel crunching under, tires. No more shadows loomed, no more threats whispered. Willow Creek was ours again, and I'd never felt more at home.